It started.
So welcome to Feast for the Soul, our 40-day worldwide spiritual immersion. And today it is day 15. If this is your first time, then you are so welcome. And if you've been here every day or some of the days again, you're so welcome. It's every day we start again. We start with that beginner's mind. If you are watching on Facebook Live, hi and welcome. We're also recording to Spotify, where we listen to the recordings there and also on YouTube. So welcome, everybody. Today, I'd like to introduce you on this 15th day to our leader of the meditation, Dr. Karen Neal. And the practice Karen will be leading today is called Nurturing Adults and Supporting Children, and it's a kindness practice. I know Karen really well. She was my first mindfulness teacher when I was exploring mindfulness-based stress relief, an 8-week course, and we became really good friends. So it's an absolute delight to have you here, Karen. Karen teaches mindfulness and health skills in the workplace and in higher education, in schools and in health settings. And she is really keen to keep the connection very much alive between individual and planetary health. So Karen is a pharmacist. She's a health coach. She's a mental first aider and also a trustee for the Institute of Health Promotion and Education, which is a wonderful organisation. And if you want to have a little look more into that, IHPE, Institute of Health Promotion and Education. Karen went to a number of retreats with the Zen Buddhist master, Thich Nhat Hanh. And Karen discovered firsthand the power of mindfulness as medicine, which has inspired her work. So I'm thrilled that you're here, Karen. I'm going to pass over to you now, and we're going to enjoy your beautiful, beautiful meditation. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much, Sue. It's an absolute joy to be here. It's my second year, and I just feel so at home and so inspired by everything you're doing, and what a gift that we can all connect in this way, you know, across the planet. So I'm in Nottingham. Hello to others in Nottingham, from Liverpool originally. So I noticed there's someone from Merseyside, but also, you know, hello to friends all over the world, to America, Canada. It's just such a gift, an absolute joy to be here. So thank you. So when I first spoke to Sue about the feast for this year, she mentioned the importance of children. And you know, we're talking about compassionate communities, and said we really need to make sure that we're thinking about the children in this. And I said, oh, I'm up for that. So my work in health promotion, we do a lot of advocacy work, and particularly for you know, groups that don't particularly have a voice. We do a lot about inequalities, and one of my areas of interest is children with special educational needs and mental health difficulties. So we produce information, publications, and respond to consultations. So that's a big part of my work at the moment. So I said to Sue, how about I offer something to really help parents who are supporting children who are struggling at the moment. And so we went with that, and we had a title. And then I spoke to a friend who's a teacher, and I was talking about what I'm doing. And he said, Karen, he said, I think a lot more children and young people are struggling at the moment, you know, following the pandemic, with climate change concerns. You know, we know there's evidence of climate anxiety in our young people. And, you know, wars happening around the world. He said, I think it's a really difficult time for more than the SEND children, Karen. So I heard that, and we broadened out the theme for today, actually, to thinking about broader compassionate communities and all adults with children in their lives. So, you know, parents, carers, teachers, neighbours, friends, families. So a much broader reach for the session today. So I have personal experience, a lot of children and young people with difficulties, as I suppose we all do in current times. And so I am coming from lived experience and would like to share this kindness practice to really help share things that have helped me and help people that I've worked with in supporting young people who are struggling. So it's an adapted kindness practice, and really looking at the importance of grounding ourselves, of, I suppose, fitting our own oxygen mask first is a really common metaphor, and the importance of staying well ourselves. Because when we're stressed and we're in survival mode, that is actually an off switch to connection, because it's very difficult, as you may experience yourselves, to be both in survival mode and caregiving mode. They don't work well together. So it's so important for us to manage our stress, which is also what brought me to mindfulness all those years ago, as Sue described. But particularly in helping us to connect to children and to support them. But it's very much nurturing ourselves first as adults to then provide that stability and support for young people. So Sue, I don't know if I mentioned, one of my favourite metaphors at the moment is of bamboo. And I noticed on the newsletter that you've got a stunning picture of bamboo that it's just fits so perfectly with today. So perhaps one of the many synchronicities there. But really, there's so many metaphors, and I'd also encourage you to explore metaphors that work for you as well. So things like, we can't stop the waves, but we can learn to surf, as John Kabat-Zinn metaphor. Trees are used a lot, and developing deep root systems, or sheltering at the stable belly, not staying in the top of the tree where there's a storm. I think I first heard that from the wonderful Thich Nhat Hanh. And the bamboo, I think I really like that in the strength and the solidity, but with flexibility, actually. Because, I have heard people say to me, you need to be a rock. And actually, I can't be a rock all the time. So I really find the metaphor of bamboo swaying in the wind, and that's come up for me from a few teachers. I've got a wonderful qigong teacher, and we actually have a practice where we stand and sway in the wind. The bit like bamboo, and it's come up in many other teachings as well. So that's one that I really find helpful at the moment. But I'd encourage you to explore yours. I mean, the mountain image can be really helpful at times, but I just know there are times where I've really felt, unsettled, where I think that just that gentle flexibility I find helpful at the moment. So grounding, helpful metaphors, poems can be so helpful. Kindness and bringing kindness to ourselves. The training that I did was a lady called Eleanor Gold, who developed Nurturing Parents, a mindfulness-based program for parents of children with special educational needs. And it was so helpful, and very early on in the course, she introduces the idea of a kindness barometer, because a lot of adults, we can be quite harsh on ourselves, and people doing kindness practices discover it's a lot easier to be kind to somebody else. They find that easier than being kind to themselves. So really bringing that in, and even the concept of just checking in. How am I treating myself today? Am I being kind to myself? And I think sometimes helpful to think of it as a barometer. Where am I on the kindness barometer today? So just sharing that with you, and that will come into the practice. So I think I've probably talked quite enough. Hope that's introduced the session. I'll share the poem, guide us through the practice. and then conclude at the end, and allow for some space for silence together. So the poem I'd like to start with, it's by a lady called Maresa MacKeith, and a young person who describes herself as a disabled activist. And she's actually done some work with positively empowered kids, who Sue mentioned, in empowering kids. And if I can just briefly read her bio, as a writer, educator, and observer, she's been published by Inclusive Solutions. Her collection of poetry, essays, and occasional writing, Taking the Time, explores her journey of working towards inclusion within education, alongside her experience of existing in the world as a disabled activist. Marisa believes in connection, slowing down, and being heard. And when a friend shared this with me when I was looking for poetry and what might fit for today, this was just the perfect fit, partly with the work through the Institute for Health Promotion and Education, but also what I'm inviting in the practice of connection, of slowing down, and the importance of being heard. And that just listening to ourselves as well as helping young people to feel heard. And she's an amazing young lady, and just like really, really grateful to have connected with her and to share this poem with you. So some of the difficulties, I think, in the UK, I don't know if it's happening where you are as well, of children struggling more in school following the pandemic. And there's a lot of complexity and conflict between how best to support and manage attendance difficulties and mental health struggles. And I think this poem really just helps speak to that, and just broaden again to show how complex the issue can be. So, My School by Maresa MacKeith. The thought of starting was ecstatic. I wanted to learn so much. To me, the building was magic, with life in its crumbling husk. The thought of being ordinary filled me with joy I can't tell. Still, the thought of that building keeps memory for me of pure water, a well. That same building for another is horrific, being told he was no good at all, or being bullied for some characteristic for which at home he was loved the more. The girls with their makeup were bored of wearing white shirts with a tie, or being bullied for some characteristic for which at home he was loved the more. Sorry, so that the girls with their makeup were bored of wearing white shirts with a tie, so theirs was relief to be shared. They will go home from that school with a sigh. So for some, it opened doors to learning, and for others, it seemed just like hell. It is just the same old building, different memories there deep in its wall. So I'll now invite you to settle. Yeah, sorry, just having a quick look at the chat, and we can have a discussion later on. It's such an important issue, isn't it, to reflect on, and so many varied experiences. So we'll practice together now, inviting you to sit with us and to really connect to this global community that we have such a gift to be able to share. So inviting you to find a comfortable posture. Noticing contact with the floor, the chair. Softening your gaze or closing your eyes if you feel okay to do so, as we gradually settle into our period of practice. So inviting you to ground yourself, and have that sense of grounding, of allowing the body to be supported by the chair, the floor, surrendering to gravity. And as we take our attention inwards, just noticing what's here now physically, emotionally, and inviting you to check that kindness barometer. How are you feeling towards yourself? Have you been kind to yourself today? And just a gentle noticing, no judgment, just checking in with ourselves and maybe choosing to invite more kindness and setting that intention. And just scanning the body for any areas of tightness, of holding, tension, and inviting a softening, a letting go. Sitting here, awake, aware, supported. Noticing the breath and how you're breathing right now. Maybe choosing to deepen the breath, particularly if you've noticed a lot of tightness in the body. You might choose to breathe deeply down into the belly, possibly even placing a hand there, a hand at the chest to really connect with the heart and this intention of bringing kindness. Breathing right down into the belly, if that feels okay for you, and right up to filling to the top of the lungs, the top of the chest. Allowing the breath to soothe you and perhaps that feeling of release, of letting go of the day, or if it's morning where you are, just setting that intention to soften yourself into your day. The breath a really helpful anchor any time of the day. Place to rest, to settle. And so now I'm going to offer some phrases to help us to invite some intentions or some wishes to bring kindness to ourselves. So starting with ourselves. May I live with kindness. May I feel safe and grounded wherever I am. May I listen deeply. May I feel nurtured and free from suffering. And just noticing with kindness and curiosity, perhaps any words you particularly connect with. Maybe choosing your own words. May I live with kindness. May I feel safe and grounded wherever I am. May I listen deeply. May I feel nurtured and free from suffering. Kindness, safety, grounded, listening deeply, nurtured, free from suffering. and noticing what arises for you with curiosity and kindness. You might choose to stay there or just sit with the community in silence. There's always choice. But if you choose, you might like to now consider bringing wishes and intention of kindness to a young person in your life, perhaps someone you're close to. May you live with kindness. May you learn to listen deeply. May you feel heard and understood. May you feel safe and secure. May you feel nurtured and free from suffering. And again, just noticing with curiosity and kindness what arises as you bring to mind a young person in your life. And you might choose to bring in more. May you live with kindness. May you learn to listen deeply. May you feel heard and understood. May you feel safe and secure. May you feel nurtured and free from suffering. Again, noticing what comes up with kindness. Returning to the breath at any moment if you find any difficult emotions or experiences. Maybe noticing any words that really resonate for you. Kindness, listening deeply, heard and understood, safe and secure, nurtured and free from suffering. And again, there's also choice, but I'm now going to invite phrases towards, for wishes or intentions towards a difficult person, some conflict in the family, with the school teacher. So again, wanting to be free from suffering, bringing to mind a difficult person, but not a major difficulty, just perhaps a minor disagreement. Taking good care. May you live with kindness. May you feel safe and grounded wherever you are. May you listen deeply. May you be free from suffering. So wishing for the difficult person to be free from suffering. May you live with kindness. May you feel safe and grounded wherever you are. May you listen deeply. May you be free from suffering. And again, noticing your experience. And now broadening out our practice, nurturing parents, nurturing adults, supporting children. May we live with kindness. May we feel safe wherever we are. May we listen deeply. May we be free from suffering. And may understanding come to our hearts. May we live with kindness. May we feel safe wherever we are. May we listen deeply. May we be free from suffering. May understanding come to our hearts. And now just inviting a few minutes sitting together in silence. You might choose to connect with the breath or return to some of the phrases, or just simply nurturing yourself, sitting together with this global community in stillness and with peace. And I'll watch the time for us. Inviting you to just gently bring a little movement in the body as we start to bring this period of practice to a close. And as you gently bring your attention back, I'd like to share a final poem with you. And this has provided a mantra for me that I've found incredibly helpful and a gift from a dear teacher of mine, Dr. Patricia Collard. It's called What It Is, and it's Patricia translated it from Eric Fried from German. It is nonsense, says reason. It is what it is, says love. It is disaster, says calculation. It is nothing but pain, says fear. It is hopeless, says insight. It is what it is, says love. It is ridiculous, says pride. It is irresponsible, says caution. It is impossible, says experience. It is what it is, says love. So in those moments of difficulty, things we really don't want and we're aware that we're resisting, be it an illness, a diagnosis, a child who's really struggling, I offer this as a gift, as how I've experienced it. The mantra, it is what it is, says love. So inviting you to open your eyes if you've closed them. Maybe breathe a few more deep breaths. Thank you, Marilyn. It's amazing. Marilyn loved the poem. You might choose to stretch, to move. Some lovely, nourishing deep breaths. Bringing your attention back. It's been a joy to practice with you all. Thank you.